Hello and good morning to the GameRT uh, games games and gaming roundtable extra life charity event on Twitch. Um, this is our charity stream. This is going to be a day-long event where we are going to celebrate games, libraries, especially things like storytelling, and alongside that, raise money for an amazing cause. Uh, ExtraLife, who is the great organization that has all of these really cool like themes and everything that you're seeing right now, um, is a fundraising program of the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. The Extra Life community fundraises year round to change kids' health to change the future. Donations go to member children's hospitals to fund critical life saving treatments and healthcare services, along with innovative research, vital pediatric medical equipment, and child life services. We have links in the description. We also had a Nightbot. Thank you, Nightbot. Um, is also here to give a reminder as to our bit.ly for our donations page. And we'll, bring it up occasionally, that sort of thing. Um, Now to introductions. My name is Russell Brandon. I am the Data Services Librarian and Director of the Cawson Center for Teaching and Learning at the Mississippi University for Women. My pronouns are he/him, and I am a GameRT programming committee member. And I
Yeah,
will pass it
and I'm
on to.
Danielle Costello. My pronouns are she/her. I'm a member at large for Games and Gaming Roundtable of the American Library Association, as well as our event programming co-chair. I also am a research and instruction librarian for Louisiana State University. However, today I'm here for hosting high mayhem and lots of games and fun. This event is being held live. However, if you need to leave or would like to watch it again later, we have Twitch on demand that will be accessible right after we end. And if you aren't following us already on GamesRT or our Twitch, please do so we can build the channel and bring you more great things. Links to all those places will be found in our with Nightbot putting them in and on our resource list in the chat. So please check those out. And for anyone previously not familiar with the folks here today. We are the Games and Gaming Roundtable of the American Library Association. Our mission is to promote games in libraries, whether that's programming, collection development, community building, prototyping, playtesting, or research. So, all that explained, here's the first of four programs today. This is a Librarians Attempt Games.
Oh
This is our
dear.
program where we choose a game, gather some librarians, talk about the game, and then how games can be added to our library. And today we're going to start off with Destiny 2 by Bungie Inc. And I'll toss it over to Russell to explain more.
Oh boy, I am so excited about this. I'm going to go ahead and swap things over to Destiny. Oh, we're a little cut off there. Maybe I'll adjust that some. Uh, Destiny. This is actually Destiny 2, if we want to be technical about it, which oftentimes I don't. But what there we go. Now we're all adjusted and we can see the screen. This is Destiny 2. This is Bungie's basically started with Destiny 1, was kind of a step out of their the Halo universe and kind of into the area of MMOs, massively multiplayer online games. Um, Along with another genre referred to as the looter shooter, where basically you have a adventure sort of style. Basically, the setup being that you are a some sort of hero. You are fighting against a bunch of enemies. And it is kind of an ongoing battle, and so you can kind of repeat things a lot of the time, and I'm really destroying the sort of heart of what Destiny 2 is. Um, but the idea is that you are essentially a space wizard. You have been given powers by um, a space messiah, a big a big old orb referred to as the Traveler. Um, and we're going to go ahead and get started with kind of the intro mission for New Light. You're playing as a Titan, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so basically, how things are kind of divided up. The game itself is like all the sort of weapons are interchangeable between types of characters. Uh, Characters have unique, or the different classes have different types of armor. Um, and what are referred to as exotic armors. But the big difference is in kind of the skill sets that each one has. The Titans focus a bit more on kind of resilience, so resisting damage and recovering from damage, that then allows them to basically be tanks in MMO parlance. Um, Again, focusing on survivability. You have the hunters, who are kind of more focused on DPS, basically doing a lot of damage. So you think of them as kind of like a rogue sort of archetype. Um, and the so the basic setup is, and the reason why this is such a cool sort of sci-fi fantasy world, is that you have the knight, the rogue, and the wizard, and those are the three archetypes for it. But it's in a sort of sci-fi that
Space wizards.
yeah, space wizards, and that is what the warlock is basically space wizardry, which focuses a bit more on either healing or doing damage over time. And so I'm going to go ahead and select the hunter, and I'm just going to make a random one, I think, just because I always spend way too much time customizing things. And then there we go. Are you started on your mission?
Yes? Question mark?
Yes.
So everybody knows I have played this maybe once in my life, and we're trying to figure out how to connect to each other. So we will see where we go and how that works out. But yes, I am in the the game and
Yeah.
trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So one thing that uh, Destiny is unfortunately known for is being a bit much. They've just got a lot of content. I mean, we're currently in the fourth expansion of the second game. I don't know. I even came into it after one of the expansions. So there was Destiny 2, that was where, you know, this whole. Basically, that's where, Nathan Fillion became. Was like a prominent character. But then in Destiny 2, prominent character again. But then in the first expansion. So we should also say spoilers for Destiny 2 at any point. I don't know how to keep my mouth shut. But you can't really play the Forsaken campaign anymore. But in that campaign, he dies. And so that whole campaign is basically a revenge story for the character, the Guardian that we are. Have you watched the intro video? You watched the intro video already? Yeah. Okay, cool. I guess we can...
Yeah, we can watch a little bit of it and showcase the neat storytelling aspects. I'll watch your screen on Twitch. Yay, the power of multiple screens and doing Windows things, and hopefully my character won't die.
Okay.
I'm just in this salvage and salvation section. I don't know what mission that is, but I know enemies are around me, so we can kind of let me know.
So you're not in a mid, and you'll see. I'll ask if we're in the same place, because I think you might have already done the intro mission, or maybe it's plopping you down.
But yeah, tell me more about like kind of the lore of the game and why you really like about the kind of story of it.
So one of the interesting, and the video will kind of describe it, but so that's the Traveler. Oh man, I'm tempted just to say, listen to, I think it's not Jeremy Irons, what's his name? He's
We called it the Traveler, and it's a
he's what's his name? Davy Jones.
Great cities were built on Mars.
Oh.
Mercury
I'm so
became
bad
a
with
garden
voice
world.
actors and
Yeah.
names of people.
Human
I feel like it's.
lifespan
I keep wanting to say
tripled.
Jeremy Irons, but that's not
It
it.
was a time of miracles.
Regardless, so we're kind of
We
talking over it,
stared
but
out
that's
at
fine.
the galaxy and knew that it
So
was our
interesting fact
destiny
is
to
the
walk in
character
the
who's
light
talking
of
right now
other
was the
stars.
speaker for the Traveler, and one
But
of the
the
big
Traveler
things for moving
had
between
an
Destiny
enemy.
1 and Destiny 2
A
is kind of
darkness
this. I mean, it's
which
got
had
this
hunted
just
it for
comprehensive
eons across the black
incomprehensibility.
gulfs of space.
The
Centuries
single
after our
premise, and the
golden
reason why I
age
love it as
began,
sort of a sci-fi
this
fantasy
darkness
story, is
found
the
us.
idea that
And that was the end of
you
everything.
you can
But it was
store
also
matter
a beginning.
in like a much denser contained space as information, essentially. And this is kind of the singularity that occurs that the Traveler shares. So like the video intro kind of walks you through that, but not like detailing it. It just basically says the Traveler showed up and like it was utopia. But the reason it was utopia is because the Traveler introduces this idea of engrammatic storage, which is essentially, you know, which is the loot boxes, which is even cooler. And so you have this like, I think I love it mainly just because it has gotten into my brain so well. Because I mean, it is designed to be a game that you come back to pretty consistently. I'm a more casual player, so I mean, I usually will put in about, you know, depending on how often I'm able to play games. But honestly, with Destiny, I'll usually get in like an hour a day. Just kind of doing chores and stuff for MMOs. But like, it always kind of has this. I think it's mainly just the aesthetic of it. So like the fact that it is a fantasy narrative, but is completely like sci-fi couched. Like they don't.
A Russian spaceport.
I mean, they do have words like
It's
describing
quarantined
hive
now,
wizards and
and
stuff
quite
like that.
dangerous.
But
But our
yeah,
only
it's
way
just
forward
it's
is through
fascinating.
that wall.
So now we are. So this is old Russia, the Cosmodrome. And the idea is that basically when the darkness, so the Traveler showed up, the Traveler said, "Hey, here's some cool tech," and humans were like, "Heck yeah, it's our destiny to expand." And then,
Name drop.
yeah, yep. And then the darkness, which was the enemy of the Traveler, was like, "Nope," and that ended what was referred to as the Golden
But first,
Age.
I need to find you a weapon. Let's keep
And
moving.
and yeah, and when that happened, the Traveler basically retreated to Earth, and that was kind of a last stand that it had, and also in sort of releasing these little robot friends called ghosts, which resurrected people with no memory of their past, to basically act as sort of as guardians of the light. The light is the Traveler's sort of like this sort of boundless energy that is a
I
sort
brought you
of
back for a reason, Guardian.
it
You're a
produces.
That means you're not afraid to take
How it
risks.
does this, I mean,
So,
is a very
keep
sort of is where we get into
Ready
the
for a
fantasy
fight.
part of it.
Yeah, it's always fun to see how narratively somebody explains, okay, we're gonna resurrect you. Is it whether it's like, you know, there's no explanation, it's just a thing that happens in world and you accept it because we're playing games, or
Yep.
is it something that's like Dark Souls where you're
Stay
like, oh,
focused.
you're a
If
soul,
your
and then
tracker
you know
blinks,
you're
there's trouble
like that
nearby.
really cool mechanic of you can tell information from the past to, you know, future people, that kind of thing. Or like in here, always a delight to figure out, you know, sometimes I can turn my brain off and just kind of believe in the mechanic that, like, I'm just playing a game, I want to have fun, but it's nice to have an in-world explanation, like at least the bare level of here's why you get to just kind of keep coming back from horrible dangers and mistakes.
Exactly, and the interesting thing, and I mean, New Light is free. Just saying, not to like just like not just pitching for Bungie. We're not kidding. But the fun part, or I think one of the great things about showcasing, especially this introduction level, is that it does a good job of kind of giving you like points of interest to like investigate further, while also introducing all of the little like mechanics of like how to actually play the game. Yeah, it's I'm just going to end up gushing about Destiny for 2 hours. Is that?
That's totally fun. Actually, I kind of like the you playing it because you're so familiar with it, and me kind of running like commentary and watching you in the background. Because I think that's one of the joys of actual plays and Twitch kind of style media is I am not good at the things I love ever. Like all the things I love, like games, some sports,
Oof.
other things, I'm horrible at. But I take great joy and thank you for letting me resurrect all the time. Or games that specifically, it's like you have to die a lot to get a lot of information and knowledge for the game. So I will ride behind you as you go through this intro level.
Keep pushing
And
forward. I'll locate a ship we can use to fly home.
And yeah, as
That's
much
so
as
true
you
for
want to
me
talk
too.
about, yeah. I mean, we might get to it, and we could do another one where we switch and we talk about like I run, you run questions, and I'll talk about Fallout lore all day, every day, because
Oh yeah.
Fallout is one of my favorite games. Very similar in this, and then there's shooting, looting, that kind of like there's those mechanics, but the atmospheric storytelling is stellar in. Um, despite all the bugs that Bethesda keeps, dropping in. Thank you, modding community, for making it a delightful experience to play. But yeah, it's fun to be able to explore the storyline and lore of games as, either it's given to you as introduction or you're discovering things along the way. And yes.
I'm scheduled for nearby ships.
Oh wow. I need to adjust my sound.
Oops. Yeah, that's another thing. I was playing I was trying to get into the intro and I was like, I cannot focus on 12 things at the same time. Oh no.
You're doing great.
'Cause I'm watching the chat as well as watching you play, and then I was like, maybe not. Maybe we'll just watch Russell play the intro. And so what's going on here? This is the intro part. How does the tutorial rank as far as like getting you used to mechanics and like story, or is it just mechanics by itself?
It's so mechanics and story. So right now we have Ghost. So one of the cool things about it is that specifically it starts by like with Ghost, you're this little dude that's just resurrected you, saying, "Hey, so I know this is confusing, but you're gonna just have to go." And begins to sort of introduce you to the Cosmodrome, which is an area that predominantly has kind of been impacted by the Fallen. It was so like the Fallen are the first set of enemies that you're introduced to, and while that's happening, Ghost is kind of giving you a little bit of background, which is basically that the Fallen, the Traveler used to be given powers to the Fallen. Now they gave powers to humans, but the Fallen followed them. The Fallen, oh man, the Fallen are actually the Elixni, that's their actual name. The Fallen is the name that humans gave them, and that's been a huge arc, sort of developing the Fallen into a much more like relatable sort of part of, and now we're actually working with Fallen a lot, or the Elixni a lot. So it introduces that, and where we are right now, or what just happened, is basically the sort of shared space for people who are doing the tutorial. And so what that does is it introduces other players and a large sort of public event. And so kind of just introducing the idea that, hey, running around, encountering other players is a good thing, because you're not in PvP land, or you're only PvE. And then we have the introduction of the Hive is about to happen, so that's another race. They are the sort of wizards.
Fresh out of the grave.
Man, there's some wild Hive lore.
We're here to help.
Brave. I like it. Tall order for your first day, though. Doesn't help that I rushed the perimeter scans, and now.
Yeah, it's. I think it's mainly just because it's a narrative sort of introduction to that. So even like statements like Ghost Mage, where like Guardians do better together. It's like this is a game that you can play completely by yourself. I typically end up playing it by myself, and we'll I have a few friends that like play, and we'll party up and stuff like that. But there's a depth to this in terms of like, you know, partying up and like having a crew of people that opens up a lot more of the game, or at least like things like raid content, which is, I think, again, just sort of that interesting way to prompt, I guess, I don't know, like community behavior, you know, that sort of like...
you get rewarded. I think
yeah.
Guild Wars did a really good job of
yeah.
community, but like you can play the game completely solo. There are some things that are much harder without, you know, a raid or group and things you're not have access to, but it does, through the mechanics of resurrection and other rewards, let you like we're playing this together. Only certain areas are PvP.
I'll scan for signals from my jump ship. I need you to be my eyes.
Yeah, I love it when a game rewards community behavior in a nice, subtle way instead of, no, we're just gonna ban everything.
Yeah, I mean, and they're... Oh, yeah, it's wonderful. We're gonna make this kind of a speed run.
I've got a source for the interference.
Ooh, we should try speed runs, Russell.
I've been thinking about that a lot.
Yes, it'll be like 5 hours later. Well, we're at the very first part of our speed run. It's not very speedy, but we tried.
So this is another part of... So this is opening up the world a bit. So in terms of like quality of tutorial, what this is providing is a really great... So the hack as an event is like a pretty consistent mechanic in the game. And so it's couching it and basically like Shawhan is right over there and he's talking to me on the radio, and which is basically how sort of consistent missions across the sort of open world, which is where we are right now. We're in the open area of the Cosmodrome, meaning that, you know, other players might be around here depending on what they're doing. Or actually, I think technically right now we're still locked into... We're just in the open world, but it still kind of hasn't taken the training wheels off as far as interacting with other players. Like, that was kind of a limited... I don't think I've ever run into any randos.
So is this part instanced, do you think?
Instanced, that's the word. That is the word, yes. Instanced meaning that it is local to my computer. That spawned off of a... No, we'd already finished the question. Wow, man, this is streaming and talking and... okay, we're just gonna... Oh dear! Okay.
Oh no! Well, we'll let you just work on that and not have to talk for a moment.
No, that's fine. It's just really funny as far as it's more of that sort of vibrating excitement of like, hey, look at this fun thing! Wanting to say everything at once. So, for example, during this section, one thing it teaches you is how to pick up enemy vehicles, because it's such a wide section and it's like, but I went ahead and because I have another character that I play, I was able to import a Sparrow, which is the Guardian sort of vehicle. So, introduction to force fields. So these were golden era ships that were basically used to colonize different moons. Like previously, before the most recent expansion, which kind of opened up some new areas, but also closed off others. The moon of, or is it Jupiter or Saturn? Titan. Which moon is that? I cannot remember.
Titan, is that Jupiter?
I think it's Jupiter. That's right. So fun fact, those are called servitors. Those are kind of like machine priests. It's weird. The Elixni have some very interesting things. Mainly that, like, when you see that little, like, burst of, like, stuff, that is ether, which is kind of the thing that they use to replace the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of a wild, wait, I have that already. This is showing kind of one of the other, big mechanics in this game, which is, put the orb in the orb thing. Dunk the orb is a pretty common,
Is it
gameplay
like
loop.
Oh, okay. Is it part of the actual official gameplay, or is it something that is kind of just you do extra?
Sorry?
Oh, is it part of official gameplay and mechanics, or is it something that you just do as a fun thing on the side?
Oh, it's for a lot of different sorts of events, or puzzles in boss battles. You'll see when, once we party up, in strikes a lot of the time, so you're basically going through a level, and a lot of the time something will appear, like a core, which is an orb, and then you are supposed to pick up the orb and put it in where the orb goes, and it is like a different sort of, in lots of different varieties, but the idea of orbs, you know, oh, I need to open that thing up. The idea that you are a guardian, you pick up orbs and you shoot cubes, is a meme in the Destiny community.
Excellent.
Yeah, so.
Is there a lot of skills that do that, where you learn like a very kind of basic, like orb goes in object, and then
100%.
it just gets more and more complicated as you go? Yeah.
Yeah, the one of the other things that hopefully we'll be able to showcase with the strike is just the way that puzzles get introduced and then sort of layered on. Like in that case, actually, I could have talked about it. It started off with kill the servitor, but the little control unit was in the open. And so it was teaching me, okay, go to the control unit, hold down E. And then over here was when it introduced the idea of kill the servitor to drop an orb, then open up the thing, then activate it. And then they made it a little bit more difficult with more enemies on the third section. And so that's kind of one of the big formulae that they use in like across different puzzles. So they don't all look the same, but they like teach them the same way, I guess.
You were right about this barrier. The Fallen were keeping the Hive at bay.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things, is to start small and then make something more and more complex, but continue to use the same mechanics that you enjoy and have fun with, like lockpicking and Fallout. Is like, it's kind of a very simple lockpick thing, but it gets more and more complicated in little higher levels, but not never too much, never like, you know, where it's like, I don't understand how to do this anymore.
Yeah, and I mean it makes it feel more satisfying when you, like, I always really like the feeling of accomplishment from kind of really beating a puzzle. Like, it's one thing to solve a puzzle, but it's like, then it's like, oh, okay, I understand this now. Like, I figured you out.
Yeah, it's a little gift to you, like the joy of the aha moment after you put a lot of pieces together. And just to remind everybody, because it's at the kind of half-hour mark, we are doing this stream for charity for ExtraLife. It is a wonderful cause. Please go into the links. They're going to be added to the chat.
Sure.
And if you have any money, please feel free to donate to the charity.
Light left in her ghost.
That was a good.
And,
that was well
yeah.
timed to cover up the sad part.
I was just like, oh, it feels like we need this, and then didn't even realize that things were happening.
So this introduces the narrative of guardians can die and the importance of ghosts. You know, mechanically, it's not as frequent a thing, but I mean, and I kind of sped through it when I was killing Hive, but there's a section where Ghost actually brings up the fact that, oh, I can't bring you back here because there's some sort of interference, and so those are sections that basically you like have to restart, so you're checkpointed.
Okay.
Yeah, and so those are, and it kind of indicates it by you hear this little womb and the skull. Another great training moment right here. So even if you don't pay attention to any of the things that you can read, you literally can't exit this area because it's been blocked off. It's forcing you to fast travel, which I think is, I think a great, sort of way to do it. And so I think now we should be able to join each other. So I'm going to see if I can join on you.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I like it that they know their audience. I feel that it's an important part, librarianship, game design, to know the people that are playing your games. They're not going to read all the time. I know my friends who've played WoW a lot, and they're like, "Oh, that's what lore are you talking about?" I'm like, "Did you not read the mission quest? This is what we're doing. We're doing this thing to save the king of da-da-da." And it's like, no, we just went from point to point.
Do you want me to join you, or do you want to join me?
If you can join me, that would be great, because I have not played other than just a little bit. That was maybe forever ago. I was surprised that I had a account still, so.
All right.
Player joined you. Okay, exit. Where's my friend? Where's my friend?
I'm coming. I need a cooler ship.
I think I see your little diamond, theoretically, where you might come in? Question mark?
Are you at the tower?
I am. Let me look at the map.
I just need you to get in there and
Maybe? Question mark?
my shipment.
The quest I have is salvage and salvation. Find stolen cargo.
Oh, this is the so this is introducing us. Okay, so we are this
friend.
is hello.
Friend. This is how we greet each other in games. We jump up and down.
So also another great thing about so emotes on your D-pad are a thing. So keep that in mind. So basically where we are is this is the intro mission for the season. So Destiny is like a seasonal thing. So basically you this is the start to the season of Plunder, and the character who is sort of guiding us through this mission is Drifter, and he's like, there's some stolen cargo. He doesn't have a country accent. He's more, and we have to go get it. And so
Sounds good.
let's do it.
Let's get the cargo.
And so this big, this being a sort of part of the recent, they're reintroducing a lot of characters from before the most recent expansion, because a lot of zones were sort of locked off that were character specific, and so they've moved some and they've retired others. So each season has kind of brought back a
Oops.
whoopsie.
Right.
One of them snipers get you.
That was my own hubris in jumping and not jumping well.
Another, cornerstone of Destiny is, interestingly enough, jumping puzzles.
Oh no, Russell.
So,
I am very bad.
No, but the
puzzles.
difficulty, that is the idea. The difficulty of doing this. Man, I just love the Titan intro gear. Titans are... I'm a Titan main with a Warlock. With a side of Warlock.
So would you say jumping puzzles are necessary, or do you get fun little
It's more
reward?
extra stuff most of the
Okay.
time. I mean, there will be occasional like required jumping puzzles in things like longer raids or dungeons. But most of the time in strikes, if there are any sort of like little platforming things that you have to do, it has a pretty accommodating checkpoint system. So like basically, if a character gets ahead, they can like they'll pull the rest of the strike team forward.
Okay.
Yeah. So another part I think of like how they've done a great job of like sort of making this accommodating. Oh my gosh, I'm so used to being able to just warlock and do my little and they're going to get me.
No, maybe. Oh, there's a lot going on the screen. That's fun.
Guardian down.
And so I can revive you.
Thank you. I feel that's gonna happen a lot. Okay. There we go. That's
Okay, there we go. Also, one thing that is a testament to how awesome this game is finishers. Because they just look so cool! Another really cool, I think one of the reasons why I gush so much about Destiny narratively is that they have done such an interesting job of pivoting, like, of not only, like, really just humanizing all of the different sort of what were originally enemies, but also just characters. That's kind of been one of the big arcs of these most recent expansions, have been, you know, introducing the complexities of all of this. It's not just like, oh yeah, all Guardians are super nice and cool, but also like all Elixni are not, just aliens, shooting things. Which in this case, we have the character. We're going to inspect the cargo of Spider.
Who's that? Drifter? Is that you?
Is that you?
I'm there in spirit, boss. I finessed the Guardian into doing the actual rescuing.
You let the Guardian see me like this? We'll have words once I'm out of here.
About that. First, let's discuss the matter of our hazard pay.
What? We had a deal. I will not be leveraged by an amateur extortionist.
Sure thing, boss. We'll just ship you back to the Tangled Shore. Queen Mara's got a handsome bounty on your ugly mug. Could be quite the payday.
Tell you what. House Salvation commandeered my old catch. If you can
Catch
find your way
being
there,
a large
show
ship.
us. My associates will join you along the way. Give them a lift, and we'll call it even.
Hear that, hero? We got ourselves a new ride. Just gotta break it out of impound.
So it's the season of plunder. So like basically we get to be pirates. Is the big thing. Also, it's currently Halloween on the. So I think you're gonna enjoy when we get to the tower after we're done with this mission.
very nice.
Yeah.
Do
So
they
that's
do seasonal kinds of lore that don't make sense in world, or do they like? I know there's Wintercrest and other kinds of fake wintry holidays. Do they? Since this one's they're obviously from Earth, do they keep the earthen holidays?
Yeah, to a degree, yes. And they refer to them because, oh man, I can't really remember. I'm even bad at future history. But basically, our time right now is the distant past, or at least to a degree, the distant past. But they still they have this one character who is actually kind of Eva Levante, who is kind of like the, I guess the tower mom, who will typically couch a lot of the the winter thing, or the Halloween event. I can't remember what it's called right now, but we'll see it as like a remembrance. Like that's kind of a consistent theme. Like a lot in Destiny is kind of using time to remember guardians and stuff like that. But yeah, most of the time it's like referred to as like we used to celebrate Halloween and but all of the decorations are Halloween. So I mean, and there's like literally Halloween music playing on the tower right now. So.
But I'm sure the Guardian can handle it.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. And I mean,
It is.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh no, it's just funny sometimes because I know I love a good seasonal event, but sometimes it just doesn't quite work. Like I know that they're doing it just for me, the player, not for any lore or story purpose.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean so as far as how Eva talks about it, so there we go. See, there's our friend. So this is. I want you to look at these names. Just take note of each one of our associates' names. So this is Hall 6. He's a Elixni that works for Spider, and he is so cool. I
love the porcupine back.
Right, and you'll. Oh, just wait. The event itself that is associated with this, like the actual mission that you do, is very much like kind of, sort of like a joke. It's like this sort of funny, like not in lore, but that's another thing that's really funny is that there are a lot of little self-referential things to like all the weird stuff that Guardians can do. And just like people being weird on the tower because we're just players and Guardians are just dancing, and so occasionally there will be in-universe commentary on that, which is pretty funny. But yeah, the background for the mission for like this event is basically this mysterious set of pages that someone is scared about. And it creates a headless, like, I forgot what his name is, but he's like the headless horseman, sort of thing that you have to fight.
Which is so funny. We had the Spooky Spectacular a couple weeks ago, and we're talking about the timelessness of some stories. Like, we just keep having them, and so to see the headless horseman, which we, if you'd want, here's a plug for our previous content. Please go watch.
Spooky Spectacular.
Spooky Spectacular, and the retelling of the Headless Horseman story by Hollow we did a dramatic reading on it. Like, it was fantastic.
So good. It's amazing.
But yeah, to see that we love the same stories over and over. We like, what is it? I know Robin Hood has been retold like a billion times. Like always, we like kind of, I guess, the familiarity of a lot of stories, maybe. Ooh, I'm seeing a lot of names. Are these other people or?
Yeah,
these,
so those are Spider's associates.
Ah, brilliant.
So we are instanced. This is basically a dungeon. We're instanced in a strike mission, so that would be kind of the equivalent.
I appreciate that all my allies have names that I can kind of keep track of because there's a lot going on.
Right.
And I'm like, who am I supposed to be shooting at?
Click heads.
Which I guess is the interesting thing about being a human with no other kind of alien species that I'm interacting with that I know about. I don't know what's happening in Area 52, but I guess it's nice to have stories that get us used to kind of alternate ways of thinking. Like, these are our allies. They don't look human, but they're our allies.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean, and it's interesting because they have their model, I think they changed their model slightly, because the Forsaken campaign had our friends with us there too, and we got to follow them. We got to make sure but they were a little bit I don't know, like in my head, they were a little bit too similar to the Fallen, the enemy models, which was interesting just because you end up like turning around and you're like, ah,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh no, it's you. But now that I'm thinking about it, I do that often enough with other Guardians. Like you just see, you're just like, oh god.
Twitch.
But there's
Yeah.
no, thankfully, no friendly damage.
Well, thank you, Giant Red. Oh, no responding. Appreciate knowing that. Just hide.
Oh, you got the rocket launcher.
Big. Oh. Hide. Yeesh. Yeah. I got hit right at the side of the bar.
Wow, it's so weird what I'm watching entirely too many. So this is
Is he shielded?
yes. So right now, the little servitors.
I do appreciate kind of the overall meta understanding of how games are played. I guess this would be a shared lore between all video games. When you see something shiny around a large thing, we've moved into a different zone of play.
That's a good point. Or even just the existence of critical hits.
Yeah.
Or like that sort of as like FPS lore. I'm trying to think of like circumstances where that is a thing.
I feel also, narratively, I think it happens also. It's like where, the big bad can't, at this point, narratively be affected by anything that our characters are doing. Like, there's other things shielding them, and then we move into the final arc where our heroes are, now have gone past that invulnerability.
And the gate, so like being able to sort of gate that, it's really interesting. Just bringing that up. Like, that is exactly it. You're able to situate content much more like chapters in an encounter. Wow.
Yeah. I think that's what I love about video games is because they're referential to everything I know about storytelling in general, just like how a book operates, how movies and media work. Of course, very different because I am in the middle of this firefight and I control. Oh, Russell, do you need heal?
Just no, just or if you can, or you can also just stay alive. I'll swap to you. There we go. Yeah. If you want to back up, I got 10 seconds.
Yeah.
No, there's no shame in backing away.
This is the part of the chapter our heroes valiantly regroup. Yeah.
Huzzah!
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, that's the one difference I think in game media is while still referring to all these other tropes and themes, we get to impact in ways that feel meaningful.
Yes, like we are part of, because I think that's another really great thing about this game is that even though there are tons of Guardians, like, it's not always necessarily, like, just the Guardian who is doing something. Like, typically this is a, I say that, but then I'm just like, or at least more recently, they've gotten there's been a much bigger shift towards, his name is Keel Hall. Oh my gosh. Okay, so look at their names. Sorry.
Jetson, Rassikin, Flotsikin. Oh my gosh.
So we've got Flotsam, Ransom, Jetsam, and I was like, I feel like I figured out, it's not Wholesome. it's ransom, jetsam, flotsam, jetsam, ransom, halsum. That's not halsum.
Yeah.
What is the fourth one?
Halskins?
Well, it's Hall 6, but that's the
Hall 6.
jokes.
Mm-hmm.
The joke. Ran 6 is ransom, jetsam, and flotsam. All like pirate jokes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there's a pirate joke that is Hall, Hal, and I don't know what it is.
We need more pirate lore.
We need more pirate lore.
Yeah.
So this is actually how they've reintroduced in the season the big bad from the last expansion named Aramis, who kind of introduced the darkness as which is a way that they mechanically introduced a new sort of subclass of powers.
Yes.
And then we hold down E on it.
Oh, hell. The witness must have broken
And the
Aramis
witness
out.
is the new
No
sort
wonder
of
how
big
selfish
bad
and scrambling.
that was revealed in the last season, or as a part of this newest expansion, the Witch Queen.
Price of her
I gotta take a moment to really appreciate that beautiful pumpkin spaceship pirate ship combo of
Right.
a mishmash of so many different pieces of lore and stories into one horrible, beautiful conglomerate. Well done.
That's the
Well done.
catch.
Come on now, Spider.
So these
yeah.
are
I'll
yeah.
treat her like she was my own.
Also, pirates. We love pirate stories.
Also, we're on Europa, by the way. So
Oh, Europa.
the moon, and you can see the former city of humanity here.
Ooh. Oh.
Down in the, it's pretty wild.
Nice.
Yeah. Europa is a moon of Jupiter. Titan is a moon of.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any-
Jupiter? Saturn?
Is it Saturn?
No, maybe.
I'm gonna have to look it
Well, librarians, we're gonna research that.
up.
Come back to you and put it in our resource doc. Maybe a little Skyfield. Yeah.
Saturn.
Saturn. There we go.
We're cool. Europa. Jupiter.
Mhm.
They have all. So Mars used to be a location. Ooh. We have a nice little. So this is
Little
again.
dive
This is introducing the season of plunder.
Mhm.
Oh man, I forgot I was playing my hunter. I was like, who is this person? That's another cool thing. They do a really cool job of inserting the character's model into things. That's been a more recent development.
I really appreciate that the models for non-humans are like, look, multiple arms, multiple because I remember Star Trek being like, when I watched as a kid, being like, they just have ears. Like, we can go harder. They can be from a non-carbon based life form that doesn't breathe oxygen. We can go much harder with how things look. And of course, at the time, I was like, oh, didn't understand the limitations of the medium of film and how long it takes to put on like actual suits and extra extendy bits. So sorry, but through the kind of lens of games and animation and comics, manga, all this stuff, we can have really amazing.
Yeah, that's such an awesome point. Oh man, and just the diversity of, and it's really interesting too, because from that design perspective, it becomes even easier to make, in this case, again, a looter shooter, to make enemies that are easier to recognize, what, and I think to a degree, I don't know, I mean, this is an opinion, I think it is more considerate to try to create enemies that are, I guess, not as relatable. I don't know. I mean, not in a sense that, kind of, I think one of the interesting things that Destiny has really, opened up in my own head in regard to, how games are designed, again, is that sort of, how do we, set up a conflict that is, that feels genuine and not, one-sided, I guess. if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I always like to have my enemies have reasons for like existing in the world that are in conflict with mine.
Yeah.
And, I like that, like you talked about how Gift of Thunder. Okay, moving on. Uh, my oh yeah, it did the same for you. Yay! I always have to buy more
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's still
Well,
cute.
no, that's actually if you got
Or
that,
is it just added?
it's a if you want, what you can do if you hit I think if you hit U,
Mhm.
you can you should see. Do you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. If you click on my name, you can promote me to.
Meter.
Oh, dope. And then we can go and man, there's so much stuff that we could do. That we can.
Well,
do.
that's why we're playing for 2 hours this time instead of just 1 hour.
Ooh-wee. Oh yeah, and we're at the hour mark, and we finished like the intro thing. So yeah, let's go to the tower, and we can. I mean, we might just spend a whole hour at the tower just because it is really. I don't know. I really, as a hub for MMOs, I think it is a really cool. It's a. I yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds awesome. And we'll take this moment and pause as we're traveling through space and time to let you know that we are indeed raising money for kids' health and hospitals and through Extra Life. Actually, let me actually pull up my script so I can talk about real things with real words. Haha. So, Extra Life is a fundraising program for the Children's Miracle Hospital Network. The Extra Life community raises funds year round to change kids' health and change the future. Donations go to members of Children's Hospital to fund critical life saving treatments, healthcare services, along with innovative research of vital pediatric medical equipment and child life services. So, we are Games Roundtable from the American Library Association. Please, if you have a chance, donate. And also, look at our resources because we made a couple really cool ones for this event. And I will put them in the chat. Yay. We unfortunately don't have Rebecca, our president of the association, here today, who usually is on top of every single, as I'm speaking the words, link to be added. But we have Nightbot to assist us in all those good things. So thank you for joining us, 4 people. Yay! And feel free to put any experiences with games, anything that you love about storytelling and lore within games, or if you're a librarian, to your library. I'm down in Louisiana, right next to Russell, which is kind of funny. You're going to Littler next, right?
I am. I'm very
Actually,
excited about
oh
that.
my gosh,
Sorry,
seeing each other in person instead of in our little 2D animations or 3D renderings. There it is. But yeah, I think going back to the idea of enemies and story and lore, I like that. I like multi-dimensional reasons for my characters being in conflict. I think D&D, I think one of the things I struggle with a lot is evil, and just evil being a racial like characteristic is really difficult. Oh, Russell, did it pop over, or was that you intentionally?
I'm doing that intentionally because I'm trying to remove names from my view, so I'm not just showing everyone's account who
Excellent.
didn't decide to be on.
Then we'll just chat. But yeah, I think I like the idea of having dimensionality and texture in the reason we're having conflict. Not everybody from a group is going to be evil. And I think storytelling, it's a shorthand. We're just like this group of people, we're in conflict with them because we've always been in conflict, and I feel we could always do better than that.
Yeah. And just, I mean, and again, I mean, it is complex because, and I think that's one of the really great things about the shift that Destiny has made is that it really has like grayified all of the conflict. It's no longer just like, oh yeah, the Traveler is completely chill, like this benevolent god, when like it's a lot more okay. I think
Yep.
we can consider this to be kind of like the public, like Twitter in that regard.
Excellent. Then I will go over what the screen you're seeing is our lineup for today. We're still going to be playing Destiny for the next hour. Have a quick break, and then we're going to go into roundtable where we do some lore, and in the afternoon we'll play some TTRPGs and then Core Keeper.
Woo! And now we're at the tower.
Yay! Excellent.
So, yeah. So if you look over to your left, you see the former tower, up that way.
Well, the tiny bit of it that still exists.
Yes. So that was, man. That was the beginning of Destiny 2. Was the Red War, in which the Cabal, who are kind of like the Destiny 2 equivalent of the Covenant, but different, very different. Just a kind of a few interesting design features of them. But so yeah, this is basically the hub. So you join in here, and it's kind of like a random instance, and you can kind of run around. And so this is Eva Levante, who is for this. So this is a not seasonal, or this is a seasonal event, but it's a limited amount of time. The Festival of the Lost. And so you get a mask that you get to wear.
I love it.
Go for arc. And so this also, this isn't going to hold your hand a whole lot. So probably for you, what you have is you have the introductory mission, but because you had already started this character, yeah. So one thing in Destiny, bounties are kind of the way to build XP and get stronger gear a little bit quicker. And so that's what, if you're talking to Eva Levante, that's what she's got, is a bunch of bounties. And basically they just give you little tasks. They give you your Destiny chores, as I like to call them.
Look, I think if we're talking about story, and if we're talking about like kind of the collective consciousness of games, you cannot play any game unless you have chores.
Yeah, it's very
the chores
important.
we love.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, look at this armor.
Your
That's so cool.
dailies.
Your dailies, exactly. So she's got a big quest for us, which we can look at. If you hit N, I think you'll be able to see your quests. Oh, and we just need to equip our mask.
Is that an
So that's
eye?
in your inventory. It's going to be in your
Yay.
your head.
Yes.
And so this is Master Rahul.
Mm-hmm.
He is the character who basically opens up higher power engrams that you find. He's actually standing like just over, like he's literally right here. Like this is him. And if you want to make a comparison.
Amazing.
And now we talk to her again.
Let's get started.
The Book of the Forgotten is amazing, Eva says, eyeing the tome warily, but I'm not afraid to say it gives me the creeps. So this is kind of the narrative. Somehow it knows whether the pages you're adding are spectral or manifested. Even introducing like the mechanics of like you're supposed to do you get pages and then you do another event to manifest them. Best to keep it happy. Collect spectral pages. Manifest them by fighting your way through haunted sectors. Then add the manifested pages to the book. If you dare.
I will tell you, I have read like books worth of lore. Like between all the games I played. Like there's a lot of looting and shooting, but I have read so much through video games. Like I love it.
That's so true. I mean, I can remember. I mean, especially. I mean we should someday try a like Baldur's Gate, a like team RPG game. I read so much because of those things, because you didn't have as many voice actors doing things. That's such.
I mean,
a good
even if
point.
there's voice acting, I'm gonna have the subtitles underneath so I can follow along. So.
And even the really interesting thing I think. So Destiny 2 has a it's like the way it's designed, you could very well just play it for the like the base mechanics, so like the gunplay of it. But there is an extensive amount of lore that is in. So you have your missions and you have your cinematics and things like that, but there's a huge depth that is all textual. And so the really cool thing about that, I mean, it is a little less accessible, I guess, to some degree, but you don't need it to really enjoy the game. But the real fun about it is that it creates like an entire community of people who are like loreists for Destiny 2, which is, I mean, the same for Warcraft and all these sorts of things. But I feel like in terms of like, you know, one of the MMOs that really like got me thinking about that as a sort of general, not occupation, but like something that keeps people occupied. Like having a lorist is pretty wild, thinking about that for a completely generated world.
Oh yeah, 100%. Or an archivist, kind of like specializing in like all the different, you know, bits and bobs of what is being created from the world. Because there's not only if you get a big enough universe, you have a large fandom that's dedicated to it. So I'll use the example of Fallout. There's artists, there's people writing fan fiction, there's people who are making kind of transformative works in media. Like, there was one about Nuka-Cola where he's just trying to find Nuka-Cola in the wasteland, and it was like a beautiful, like little cinematic short. One of my favorite people, Oxhorn, has put together the lore of all the Fallouts in a way that's kind of comprehensible as a story, rather than with Fallout, you can hit all the vaults in kind of whatever order. It's an open world kind of sandbox. So you can get a little piece of lore here, a little piece of lore there. But if you want to know the whole history of a particular vault or an organization like Brotherhood of Steel, he's put all that lore in one kind of cinematic format together, so you can understand how the Brotherhood of Steel got from, you know, the NCR to, you know, New Vegas to, like, you know, the eastern side of the United States with Fallout 76. Which, why does this in my head? Like, I have like fictional history.
It's so wild. It's just like there are things that I'm just like, I'm paid to do other things. I mean, I'm still happy though that I know all of the, like, I know the names of like characters in a fictional universe, but it's also just like, wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
I think that speaks to the media, how grabbing games can be for interjecting like information. So gamification's a weird spot, because I'm not like in the happy place with it, because it's like trying to push something into an area that's not useful versus actually already having people who are game designers just using the work they have to kind of showcase and educate instead.
Or it's less artful. I think it is very, I mean, gamification, I think, as a practice is a different deployment of how of play. And like, so it's, I think people conflate gamification with like with games, you know. It's like, I mean, because like I haven't even gotten into the sort of manipulative component of like, I mean, the reason part of the reason I'm so obsessed with this game, or like the reason we're so obsessed with some of these games, is because of the manipulative gamification components of them. Sorry.
No, that's all. I feel it's all within the scope of like talking about our patrons and what they're going to interact with. And so like, if we're thinking about how we want to use the power of games and storytelling, it's like, well, I like parallel examples. It's like you're doing a lot of research in your games already. Like, you've researched how to do these skill trees, you've researched the most optimal builds, you've researched and figured out who is an authority in what you want. You can use that in the same way to do your academic research kind of work. It's like, I'm saying you have the skill set already through the games and through the play. We don't have to gamify anything. They already have the skill. Is kind of how I like to kind of approach that aspect of it. Because I have done so much research for some of my games, like Stardew Valley. I'm like, look, I need to know prices and economics.
It is, I mean, and yeah, being able to customize that component of the game, I think that's a strength of any like really enjoyable game. And I think for social games, they become even more valuable if you can like because the fun, like the person who introduced me to Destiny 2 is like does competitive and like very much checks boxes and collects things a lot more. Whereas for me, like I very much am just like I want the storyline and I want satisfying sort of synergies, I guess. Like I don't even want them to be necessarily good. I just want weird, fun things.
Yeah.
And then you have people who are more about competitive or PvP, and more people who are about raiding, and it's interesting just because like with these sort of like massive games like Fallout or like Destiny or World of Warcraft or any of these things, like you can have all those little sort of scratches to those itches.
Yeah. But I love games.
Oh, me too.
Let's play some more, Russell.
Let's play some more. All right. So, would your partner like to join us? I was thinking maybe we could do a strike or.
Oh no, has gone to Home Depot.
Oh.
I was like, too much. Oh wait, has left already. So all is well.
No worries.
Yay, crafting.
Let's go to Home Depot. So.
Not sponsored by.
Not sponsored by Home Depot. Definitely not. Yeah, I think we can do. I guess the question is, we can do the haunted sector, which is just we're going to be doing like a ritual thing, or we can do we can keep playing around in the Cosmodrome.
Let's see the haunted content. Let's see
Haunted
if we can find
content.
a headless horseman or all the other shenanigans.
All right, we going in. Oh wait, 1 second. I am a new light, and so, man, pardon me. What I think is it? I'm gonna make a quick swap.
Oh yeah. 100% Russell. Anything to make this easier.
Oh man, it's not necessarily that it even makes it easier. It's just a little bit more fun, I guess. Because I
100%.
I just really love my warlock.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
I'm gonna join on you again, or I'll invite you to my fire team.
Okay.
And then you will go to orbit, and we will do the haunted sector.
What do I need to do?
Did you get a little notification saying that I invited you? So you should be able to.
Clan maybe? No.
So if you hit U.
Oh, you.
Yeah. And then there's a little manage invites, I think.
Inspect. There it is. Russell. Accept.
Yay.
Join. Yay.
Huzzah.
Yeesh.
Aha! Player joined you. And I love that. And then your ship shows up. Oh, I love all, like, there are, I think that's another part of it. And I think, the cool thing about the diversity of games that are available is that, like, you really can find, like, cool, just, so many different flavors for everybody. Yeah,
I
that's
just rolled into a lot of screens telling me about everything I need to know.
Oh dear.
Okay. Okay, there it is. I got it. I'm good.
Well, that's fine, because we were matchmaking anyway during that time.
Yay. Yeah, that's one of the interesting things. And while I love store and like all the really great stuff that MMOs bring, sometimes occasionally there is things where I'm like, look, I know you're trying to sell something and you need to kind of keep your the servers running, but also please stop. Please. Please, enough ads. Also interesting, like for these games, I don't remember seeing as many ads in video games till I started getting to MMOs, where they're like always kind of letting us know there's a new thing or what's up.
That is a good point. I guess as games as a service has become more prevalent, like that's become more, I guess, necessary, at least as far as like keeping. Again, engagement is is in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Victory was near until they were betrayed and transformed into Taken.
I'm not always necessarily opposed as long as it's kind of upfront, like, hey, yes, we all know. Versus loot box, I feel, is very much hitting the kind of vulnerable populations who are already like, oh, look, a thing. Ooh, shiny object syndrome. It's like, come on, friends.
Yeah, that's a huge problem, I think. And there's the headless one, and so he drops. So basically, how this works is we do little phases of enemies, and then a consistent mechanic: stand in a circle, don't get pushed out of the circle.
I failed directly. Oh well. I do like to be catered to, not gonna lie. I love that headless.
I mean, it's a fun. There is a little bit of controversy because this was a event previously, and some people are. And there's some amount of reasonable disappointment, mainly in kind of some of the deficiencies. I think there were a couple bugs that kind of re-released, but again, it's kind of one of those different levels of access. I think promote different experiences.
Definitely, and I think we could do a whole roundtable on just ethics in games, from practices within releasing the same content as last time, when you have an expectation from a user, versus ethics of what is reasonable for the players to assume versus unreasonable, because I've seen unreasonable behavior as well, where it's like, my friends, no. Oh, I'm down.
Do something about this headless one real quick.
Oh, I love the big moves. I think. Oh, I'm out of it. That'll do it. And then even into like, how do librarians get some of the games? I think that's always been, we want to do more with video games, but are unsure of how to. Every library is going to have a very different game setup for at least video games.
And well, here's it. That's making me think. Something. Mainly, how. I guess the question of like games as sort of resources or as pieces of art, I guess, or like exhibits. So it's just making me think about like, kind of that distinction that I was talking about earlier. Like how a library could, beyond just facilitating, like having board games or having video games and stuff like that, but like the sort of context of how those games are like, how those games are contextualized. So like as equipment, or like as a distraction, or as fun, or so many different sorts of ways to like have that conversation with patrons.
Oh yeah.
I guess also just questioning like, would museums be a better place to have video games? Like, should we be having more conversations with museums to be like, hey, y'all should have like a place where people can, like an arcade, Yeah.
Well, I know the Strong Museum does its best to kind of curate and get all this stuff, but I feel like it's a conversation of how do you get a living game like Destiny or WoW, or like that experience where it lives in a community. How do we record that and like re-experience that for historical contents? Because if you're imagining an archive and it's like, oh, the actual letter is important, not just like the contents of a letter, but a letter done by a famous figure. Like you can get analysis from how they wrote, or what paper, with the quality of paper they used, or uh, all kinds of neat things that I can't even think of that historians and archivists look to for information, or like maybe watermarks, all that kind of stuff that happens in the actual physical media. So do we get them razor or like what kind of like build setup would we get for like preserving games, like especially MMORPG style games,
or games that no longer are supported? That was the big question about when Java became outdated. Like,
and then and are emulators, do they do a good enough job, or does the system, like having a PlayStation, matter? Although I feel like we do have within the collections, if you are a GameRT member, we have a recorded webinar from a couple of different Strong Museum presentations where they talk about games and preservation and that good stuff. But I don't know how much. We'll have to look at the collection to see how much they have talked and whether they want to talk more on the curation aspect, living games. Although I think actual plays do a good job of at least one way of recording them.
Yeah, but not the experiential recording, which is like, I mean, reasonable. You can't expect that every like museum exhibit is going to give you a genuine experience of playing a game.
Although I wonder if it's more like a play. Because if you think about, because we've talked about how TTRPGs, it's not just the reading of it, but the playing of it where a game comes alive. So if it's like theater, or should we be looking at like how theaters do plays and record all that? I am too much. Oh no, there's too many bad things. Bad things are all around me. Find my friends. While I wax poetically about archival processes.
Yay, we did it though.
Yay, we did it. But yeah, like
that is such a man, that's such an act. Like, I love that sort of. I haven't really engaged with that academic sort of component of archival games versus, because then there's also the added component of like, a game like this being online, and the sort of, there's documentation in terms of like stories that people can tell about their experience playing the game. But if the servers were to go offline or something like that, you would lose a part of
and that's not even thinking about RP servers, where part of the experience is lived within the community of people role-playing within the chats and the text of it, or their different forums as well. I think the hard thing to think about is games don't exist as a game in itself, but like MMORPGs in particular, we'll focus on that. But as the living game with multiple people playing for different reasons that you've contextualized before, but also as resource objects that people create for the game, actual plays happening, discussions between Bungie and the community of what they want, what they don't want, and then a million discords where they're talking about, this was my cool experience with this game, and then all those. So it's, how do we record once again humanity, but in this particular, this is my anthro brain coming out.
No, that's so cool. Yeah, that's I honestly hadn't. Oh man, like and the diversity of documentation that would come from that, just like beyond just like people streaming Destiny or making YouTube videos about it, but conversations happening in Discords.
Yeah, we need to find the archivists for game communities and fandoms and be like, so what are you doing? What are your best practices? How can we help?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point in terms of like starting that conversation, because that was kind of the, I guess, I couldn't really quite place it, but that's very much, I think, what I was thinking is just like, wait, do I actually even know how to start preserving games, like in a sort of academic librarianship, info preservation perspective? So thank you for that.
Yeah. And since we're part of the game's RT, we won't even talk about the worthiness of it because we already assumed that.
Yes, yes.
It's like, no. They must be preserved for all times. People must know.
Oh man. I mean, in general, I think the fact that genres, we have such a diversity of genre of game. It kind of like that's a nicer way to package things. Like you're not going to get the same sort of resolution that you would from having a full library of Destiny 2 lore, but knowing about the looter shooter genre, as a function of that being like the fact that there are more games like that kind of at least gives some amount of I guess noosphere or I guess zeitgeist preservation, that.
And if you think about Reddits and where you talk about your favorite things that happen, there's at least another like kind of area where people are talking about like, oh, we did this really cool thing in game, or I did a paper once for WoW that talked about reciprocity, and I talked about like wrote down all the reciprocal acts that people just did because they could. Like, I didn't have money and was like, can somebody please and somebody was just like, bam, here's 100 gold. Like, thank you.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh man.
Which was, if you get to a certain level of WoW, 100 gold is absolutely nothing. But for a new player, it's just like,
yeah,
people are so nice. Not always, but a lot of reciprocity happens within MMO land.
And it's interesting thinking about how some games prompt that. I mean, Destiny 2 right now, the primary mode for that are a few sort of guided beta raids where you can basically either volunteer to be a guide or be guided through things. But the like Final Fantasy 14 has they have like established, you can take on established guide roles. Even to the point that I think for a period of time, like you have a little green leaf next to your name, and like the intent is to basically promote people to be kind to new players.
Yay!
Which is,
I
I mean,
love
pretty
it.
dope. Yeah.
Yeah. There was, I think, it's interesting how it varies from community to community always. Because I think there was discussion within, I don't know, it was a competitive kind of circle. I don't know if it was a racing game or if it was a fighter game. But they were going to change and match you up by skill level. So you couldn't just fight new people. You would have to only be fighting people that were at your same level.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people who were very, very mad about that. And I was like,
oh, the matchmaking scandal.
yeah.
Oh man. Oh, that's very funny, I think.
You're feeding little birds.
Little
What
pigeons.
is up?
So that's like all the different emotes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's. I mean, again, the I that sort of finding the aesthetic that you enjoy. That is why this game has gotten so much money from me, because I'm just like, oh, I really like that.
Yes, I want this.
That armor, it looks pretty.
Look, I have dropped real adult money. Yay, having adult money.
Yay.
On Fortnite, there was a fluffy skin, and it was the cutest thing I've ever seen, and I'm like, yes, absolutely. And I've gotten such joy when I'm playing with it, just like, ah. Ooh, a map. Oh, that's so cool.
So this is so this is part of the Season of Plunder and this is kind of, I think something I appreciate about how they've codified at least this sort of section of development in Destiny is like every season you've got like a main quest giver, but also there are, there are consistently upgrades that you buy, and again, I mean, not unique to Destiny 2, but the way that it's designed, just I feel like it makes it a little bit easier for me to catch myself up whenever I have to do work things instead of playing.
Work things.
Work things.
We are lucky in that we're thankfully game librarians, so
right.
Part of our work is games.
Part of our work is games. This is a fun little thing that they added more recently. This is Helm. Oh gosh. Oh, it doesn't have the, what is, I know the acronym is, I love the acronym. Hub for Emergency Logistics and Maneuvers.
I love an acronym. I love an
Yeah,
acronym
it's
so
like
much.
the new. And so the fun thing about this is that it's changed a few times. So like when it was first introduced, basically like you have these little hallways. So a prior season, I don't know, can you even see this door?
Maybe?
Can you come down here?
Yeah. Show me.
So in a prior season, so for one, this is wild. You know, like these are Cabal. These
Hey,
are
friends.
Cabal soldiers who like are on our side, kind of. We're working with the new Empress. Also, this is like a little I just love, man, the way they just set this up.
Ooh.
It's just so wild. And so this is the Crown of Sorrow, which was part of the last season, which is a hive artifact, and it's just bonkers. It's like it's got a good amount of lore associated with it. This whole.
We need to talk.
And we're on a ship, yes?
Yes, so we are on. So Helm used to be like a building, but then they turned it into a ship, and so now we are positioned above the moon because of this season.
How long
So.
did you know? How long have you known who you were?
Very neat. So how long has Destiny been 2 been? How long have you been playing?
Oh
anyway?
gosh, how long have I been playing? I've been playing for about I want to say 4 years.
Nice.
No, probably 5.
I cared about you and you lied to me. You were that
Oh, it's
bad.
very cool. There are definitely games where I always come back because I think in its story, it's always story. It's not necessarily gameplay because I have a variety of games I keep going back to, but
I had a friend and you murdered him.
something that just keeps giving novel experiences and novel new little bits to learn.
Yeah. Oh man. And there was I activated that little radio just because, but that was a whole like lore dump. That was so sad. Oh man. Because there's a whole thing. That's one of the whole current just fun redemptive plot lines happening right now. The idea that a character who was the bad guy in a former expansion has been resurrected as a ghost. So he has no memory of being the bad guy. And there have been a lot of things that have come to a head. And I actually completely missed this season, which was kind of a bummer, but whatever.
Oh. That's an ethical conundrum. It's like, without your memories, are you the person that did the bad
Are you
things?
the person that did the bad things? That's why. I mean, such good sci-fi fantasy.
Yes.
Also, just this is fun. It's like a little rain spot.
Is this? Are we getting? Was it cleaned from like
decontaminated? Yep.
Decontaminated.
100%.
It reminded me of Division. Like, which was
Oh.
you had a lot. Division got real because the pandemic got real, and it was like, oh yeah, here we go. We're all wearing masks now, and like have to decontaminate. So
Oh.
have not played that since because I was like, too real. But
That's
yeah, there's
wild.
little decontaminated areas.
It's mainly because all that funky hive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's possible to go back and do the season of the haunted things. Witch Queen seasonal. Don't think so. Dang.
Oh yeah, speaking of, can you go back to seasons and live on them, or is there a point where all the instances are
another
done?
sort of interesting part of the conversation regarding I think a lot of the always online stuff is that depending on what, so like there's some seasonal content that's still available. So like there's seasonal content up there that was for the season that was released when the expansion was released. But I think Season of the Haunted, actually, I think you can still access it. But that will change during the next expansion. Yeah, so Season of the Haunted is Leviathan Returns. So it's legacy right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, legacy stuff.
Yeah.
That's so interesting, and it makes sense because it's like you can't have server space for everything, or like something updates and rehauls all the things, so it makes previous incarnations impossible. This is why there was like the new WoW to try and recapture vanilla.
Yeah. That's a really good point, and that whole sort of how, yeah, man, that is a problem that I do not envy game developers regarding, especially for.
Well, what do you think? One more mission? Or
Yeah,
one more?
I think we can do that.
Yeah.
What is a short mission that we can do?
You are a leader. You are in charge.
We will do. Are there any EDD strikes that are particularly fun? Ooh, we'll do a strike on Nessus because Nessus is fun because Nessus is a it's a planet somewhere out there, but there is a giant AI named Failsafe who is just a great character. In the original Red War, so how Destiny 2 started with the Red War is basically it tutorialized kind of each planet as it introduced you to them, which it still does that to some degree now with the expansions, but I honestly haven't played through them, so I don't, the New Light campaign does a good job of showing Cosmodrome, but then it's kind of a little, because the planets are changing based on season sometimes, there's like stuff that kind of gets left out. But with the Red War, they were introducing, they introduced Mars, Mercury, Nessus, and it's kind of like they also in tandem, because the whole idea is Destiny 2 started with you losing your light and you're reacquiring it, and you're finding the other, because each one of the Hunter, Titan, Warlock, they each have a person who's in charge of it, and so you basically check back in with them on Titan. Where was I even going with this? I just started talking about Destiny 2. But it reintroduces you to these things. But on the Nessus mission, it's a good compliment because that's the one where you also get reintroduced to Cade, who is voiced by Nathan Fillion, so it's very funny. And he still has dialogue in old strikes. And so you can kind of revisit things. And the whole premise of this strike, which is kind of the standard...
Meanwhile, I'm over here thinking about how much Golden Age tech might be in there. It's go time.
So we're actually going to help Failsafe because there is they refer to it as a fallen infestation, which is, again, interesting change. So we get our big vehicles.
Oh.
If you want, these can shoot. I don't know if you have a Sparrow, but you can also use that. But this is probably, for me, one of the most frustrating sections of a strike. Mainly just because what always ends up happening is I forget that those guys exist and then they blow me up. So we're just gonna go.
Oh wait, no. Oh, come back. Oh. I jumped.
So this is a good example of that sort of, again, that puzzle introduction. Mainly because these arc pulses, we're going to have to do this one other time in an area on Nessus. All right, guys. You're being a bit much. Let's just calm down. There we go. I was playing. But the whole premise when you're on Nessus, Cade has basically like kind of locked himself in this weird technology that he was experimenting with. And you meet Failsafe, which is the AI for a Golden Age colony ship that unfortunately was like decimated after landing on Nessus. And you kind of bring Failsafe back online, and then there's a very like not necessarily like main storyline arc where through small missions you kind of learn about like how Failsafe got to where they are, and it's kind of sad, but also very poignant.
I'll take it.
Oh, goodbye. He just fell off the edge.
I'll take. Honestly, that's me most of the time. Like, where am I? This reminds me a little bit of Warframe.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Less sliding. Warframe is a very sliding game. I have fallen off of many things. I'm just like doo doo doo.
Yeah. I that is a really satisfying game too. That's a really interesting lore to that game as well.
Lore is really deep for that one. There was a whole colony. From one of the songs that came out is on a colony of people who have been indebted, and then turned into cyborgs, I guess would be the appropriate, because they're mostly human, but like have been replaced part by part to continue to work off their debt. And I'm just like, oh, this is a hard storyline to follow.
Man.
Oh my god, not to follow, but like to like just be existing in it. Like everything is horrible with space capitalism.
Yeah, everything is about space capitalism. Oh man. Why do I have to return to you, Ghost? Come on. Okay, if you are down to stay there. I want to shock. Oh, okay, I guess not. Oh, wait.
That is Exodus Tech. If you care about ghosts, keep Arc inductions away from
I was thinking about, I haven't picked this game up since my friends first introduced it to me, probably 4 years ago. But what I'm enjoying is that it uses the same controls that I'm used to from so many other video games, from Fallout to Warframe to everything else that's in this genre of loot and shoot and kind of run around and finish your objectives.
Yeah, that sort of common parlance. Really great.
And I really like it. It's like the shorthands you have for, if you're thinking, I always love theater examples, so one way you know if people are your friends or your enemies in theater is what clothing colors they're wearing. If you have people who are the same, your friends essentially, they're going to be in the same kind of tones as you. Heroes get fancier colors sometimes. Villains, obviously, if you have ever watched Pippin, is the best example of a villain kind of, like that hat has villainous tones. And you're like, this person is not on the up and up. Or maybe not villainous, but, antagonist vibes. And so the same way, I was going somewhere with this. I don't quite remember because I'm being attacked right now.
Yeah.
There's a place in the direction this was going.
Talking about so like how they that common parlance, shorthands. Yes, yes.
And so it's nice to have them across lots of different things, so you can. Yes, I feel this is a definitely from a user kind of design perspective, somebody who already is familiar with these particular buttons will jump into your game and enjoy it a lot better. But also I like that it's just one of those things that, is part of the gaming community you get to learn, and you just know, like, oh, okay, I feel comfortable having this skill set. So maybe we don't know how to dig ditches or hedge rows, but we do know how to kill mobs.
I mean, prioritize.
Yeah, littles.
The deployment of resources, I guess.
Or in that situation where it was, like obviously can't fight the big thing, have to hit the little things. And I think you get that, like if you're grouping with people who are more skilled in an area, they will tell you, sometimes kindly, sometimes unkindly, this is what you need to be doing to be an effective member in this game, raid, strike team, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah.
So that kind of cultural norms that get passed on through gaming and multiplayer.
Yeah, being Sherpa'd through, like, I remember the first time that I got, like, I had a person explain what, like, in this case, light level was, because I remember I started during, like, a free weekend, and I was just playing. Like, I was just like, okay, I will follow quest, go do quest, get weapons, da-da-da-da-da, and then this person, you know, just explained masterworking to me, because I think it's somewhere in a manual somewhere, but, like, I was just having fun doing other stuff. And that was...
I've lost you. Oh, wait, there you are. I found you again. Boink. I think that's my favorite thing in the entire world in games, when I don't know this person, they are a 3D rendering of some fantastical creature, and they jump up and down to get my attention, and then they kind of slowly, like this way, dish way, and lead me to something exciting, or like, this is how you do the thing.
Yes, yes. Like you there.
Come on, you got, okay, there you go. So we don't even have to have chat to have that kind of experience. We could just be like existing in the world together.
That is one thing that actually
Worried about you guys. And your stuff.
Oh no,
that changed with
Zavala gonna be so mad you cut him out of this. Onward.
when Destiny 2 moved to Steam is I don't think that, well, I guess you can chat within your fire team, but I think like there's less communication without friend attachments. If you can check if you have a Sparrow if you hit tab and then hold E. There we go. Right click to zoom faster. Hold down shift to do a flip.
Oh, wait, hold on, shift.
No, so it puts, if you have a break on it, you can. We have to
Thank
find
you for sherping me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Sparrows are one of the more fun, I think, aspects of.
I love a vehicle that moves intuitively. I've had some very, very bad experiences with vehicles. I think there was a Mars game, Red Mars, something like that, where you would have to do the vehicles, and it's like, I will just walk. I will walk everywhere. This is
this is too much.
One of those spider things. That would be fun to be in.
It is really cool when you have ones that are on your team and stuff. Again, another like cool reason that like making, you know, the enemies more complex than just bad or good is that, oh man, seeing all the cool aesthetic changes that you're able to make.
Oh yeah.
That sort of, you know.
Yeah, I like a complex scenario. I think Dungeons and Dragons, you can definitely make really hard characters that are just level-wise hard, or you can make a scenario that makes it hard. And I definitely prefer the scenario, because then it's like a little more puzzly.
And as you were saying, the intuitive Sparrow movement. Yeah, that's like, it is pretty interesting for this game. I think one of the things that it like kind of, I guess, flavors it, but is also a mechanical choice, is the like amount of things that you can do, which like has fluctuated even within like the past, you know, 4 years, like crafting things, or like, or in general, like what you were just referring to, like movement, like how many different things you can do. You have 3 different types of jumps depending on your class. Like, you know, Warlocks have a warp jump, Titans have a stronger boost jump, and then Hunters have a double jump. And then all of the vehicles that are bike based, work the same way. And so like having that versus and then you have 3 types of weapons, and that's it. You have kinetic, energy, and power, and then and that's the same for all characters. And so like by limiting that a bit, it's like it makes it a little bit easier to sort of get, again, that that gunplay aspect, the accessibility, the common parlance of like a shoot, where did you go?
Got pushed over.
There were a lot of bomb peeps that popped up too.
Okay.
Is it serious time? Like
Could be. I mean, that's the fun thing about both playing the game and talking. So because usually the talk is like, oh, over here, mobs.
Yeah, but we're like
very limited conversation. Tank, heal. Come on, heal.
Many whelps.
Oh.
So if you step into my rift over here, you'll get a battle buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate the battle buddy.
Alright, so they come in from over here.
Once again, we've talked about the Panopticon before, but it's like, I'm being viewed, I'm trying to be entertaining, and I'm trying to succeed at this whatever level.
I think you're doing great.
Thank you, Russell. You're doing amazing as well. Please continue to kill everything as I and kill me. Oh no, because I run it once again into the edge.
These explodey gentle people are pretty.
I think part of it is I'm getting used to a platform, because usually I'm just like back up, hide, and then I'm like, oh wait, back up, hide into the void is not the strategy.
Yep, that is one thing that like making sort of I do like appreciate Destiny for that, but it also can make it a bit more difficult as far as situational awareness goes.
Yeah. Once again, atmospheric storytelling. It's like you are definitely on a tower. Don't forget, you are on a tower. Well, that was just them killing me that time. Yay! Didn't fall off the edge.
Woo!
No, get back. Away from me.
They get beefy.
Ooh, I appreciate that though. I think that's why people love raiding a lot, is that you can't just do it the first time generally. It takes coordination, learning the patterns, skill, research, and then technical skill as well, like you know how to use your class.
Oh, Battle Buddy got him. All right.
Good job, Battle Buddy. I'll take it.
Yeah, the roles part is always really interesting. Yeah, that's a really good point. I remember the first raid that I played in Destiny was like, also interactive emotes are always fun.
Oh yeesh.
Let me pick one that's. Oh dang. Well, regardless, this has been.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot because we need a little bit of break before our next thing, where we're just talking, which will be a lot easier, I think.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and how about we can do like a sort of 10-minute.
10-minute break.
And we'll come back at 12:05 if you're in chat. Again, reminder that we're doing this for Extra Life. In general, if you have a friend or crew of people who are doing Extra Life as well. Give them whatever support that you have, you can give, or to whatever degree. We are at GameRT, and we'll be back in just a moment.
10. See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.